Good afternoon or evening. Welcome to our Sunday meditation. And let's spend a few minutes trying to clear out the energy of the week. So I thought we'd just meditate to a couple of songs, two of my favorite ones. These are old Zazen albums from their first album. And the first one is from the very first retrograde planet, and which is Uranus. And the second one is Brushfire. And that one is from the Enlightenment album, which is not so old. So we'll begin now. Center yourself in your heart. Just relax. Allow the spirit to come to you.
Come in.
breath. Just be still. I played brush fire this morning because I live in Oregon and it's burning up. The nearest fire for me is about 45 miles away, but the air quality is the worst in the world. It's interesting to be in a place where the air quality is so poor, so much destruction, so much loss. One of my students lost his home. His whole family is living with in-laws. So people are going through some pretty tough times. But the thing that the brush fire tells us is that when things burn up, there's a renewal that follows. The air quality here is, as I said, the worst in the world today. There's no place got worse air than Portland, which is extremely unusual. Portland has very clean air normally. But there's a transitory nature to everything. In a couple of days, we're scheduled to have an all-day rain. And then after that, it'll rain every day, off and on, for 3 or 4 more days. The air will be clean. And then they'll be picking up from the ashes. I found it interesting that one of the towns that burned up was named Phoenix. And I remember Phoenix when I lived in Grants Pass. It was near Medford, and it's right between Medford and Ashland. And I remember it as being kind of a poor part of town, lots of trailer parks and that sort of thing. It's all gone now, the whole town, totally gone. Tremendous loss. But out of these ashes will arise a new community eventually. Building in a fire zone that has burned itself through like that is probably a pretty safe place to build. They're not going to burn out again for another 20, 30 years. So much is happening. So much. But everything changes. Today, the sky is gray and brown here. In 3 or 4 days, it'll be blue. I'm here today, and if things go well, I'll be here in a couple of days when things turn blue. But what I'm suggesting is that the world is going through a lot of change right now. I meditated this morning on the future. I don't normally do that too much, but I was kind of curious as to the nature of the change. And maybe I'm wrong. I have been wrong many times. There's a big chink in my armor of omniscience, I'll tell you. But what I did see was that there's a very, very good possibility that we have at least 6, maybe 7 months left of destruction. The birth hasn't happened yet. There's a birth happening all over the world. It's not just here in America. It's everywhere. Things are being turned upside down. Things that for thousands of years could be whispered in the closets and not be found out. Now those things that are whispered in the closets are shouted from the rooftops. There's no getting away from transparency, apparently. So we have to learn to live with it. I don't mind living a very transparent life. I have nothing And I don't plan on doing anything against society. I'm here for you. And you're here for me. We're all in this together. During these times of extreme upheaval, we have climate change, obviously. We have political upheaval, obviously. We have social unrest, obviously. We have economic turmoil on the verge of complete collapse, obviously. And yet we chose to incarnate here for this time because this is where we wanted to be. We came here for a reason. We didn't come here to, just die, although we will, but we didn't come here just for that. We came here for much more, much, much more. And right now, the earth is giving birth to a new age. I totally am convinced of this. And from what I can see, the birth is about halfway through. But it's going to take several more months for the new baby to come out. And then there'll be some mess to clean up, right after birth. They have to clean the baby and take care of the afterbirth and all that other stuff that goes on in a birth. I've watched both of my sons get born. I'm very, very privileged to have been there for that. But it's a birth. And we're in the middle of contractions, and you can't stop the contractions. You can't stop the birth at this point. It's going to go. We take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and in the Sangha. If you're a Christian, which many of you are, then you can interpret that as taking refuge in Christ. And the Dharma would be the teachings that Jesus said. I follow Jesus's teachings. I don't follow the disciples. I just follow the red letters. And then, of course, the Sangha is your spiritual community. So we take refuge in our spiritual nature, what I call the Buddha. You can call it Christ, or you can call it anything you want. It has no name. It is beyond names. It is beyond things. It is all things, but it's beyond things. It is infinite in all of its ways, and we are finite in all of our ways. So it makes it kind of difficult to come together and realize what we're doing here, especially when everything is falling apart. When things are so uncertain, we need to find refuge. And the refuge for the next few months should be your spiritual practice. When you're having to sequester in your home, when you're having to live alone, deepen your spiritual work. Now is the time to meditate. And if you have things that are bothering you, and certainly there's a lot bothering us in the world out there, pray for it. Pray for it to be enlightened. Pray for it to just dissolve into the divine. Take all of your troubles. Christ said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. When you go into the Christ energy or the Buddha energy or the whatever energy you want to call it, when you go into that, you find infinite peace and love. It's really, really important for you to touch that. Peace and love. And then to recognize that you are one with everything, that there's nothing out there that's not God. So now that we turn our attention to those things that bother us, the various groups, religious and political groups that sow so much disharmony, so much anger, so much mistrust. And they're all wrong. When you approach enlightenment, you see that everyone's wrong because we all see just a little piece of reality. And when we have that little piece and we don't feel or try to sense any other part, it limits us. It causes us to stay stuck. But we're going through a time of unstuckness. As I said, one of my students lost everything, everything. Starting over. Shiva says, good for you. When things are taken, if you have the right attitude, if you're not coming from fear or anger, then you make space for the next step. When you're facing death, you make space for the next step. We're on an endless path here. But during these times, we need to take refuge. We take refuge in the Buddha. We take refuge in the Dharma, the beautiful teachings of enlightened masters, of how that Dharma and how the Buddha reveals itself in each one of our hearts. It's the Dharma. And we take refuge in the Sangha, each other. I'm here to help anyone I can. I realize I can't help everyone in the world, but I can in one way. I can see everyone in the world emerging from this time of birthing into a new age full of peace and light and love. A sense of laissez-faire, letting people believe differently than you do. I think we're entering into a place of great awareness of each other. And we need to selflessly help anyone we can. When you're able, not putting yourself in danger, be of service, help somebody, help something. In selfless giving, you'll find love. In selfless giving, you'll find happiness. If you want to be unhappy and drive love away from you, just start hanging on. Be selfish. Keep your belongings together, tight to you, so that they can decay in your arms or be taken from you. My student lost his home and all of his stuff, including his professional stuff. I will do what I can to help him, but it's his time to take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and in the Sangha. During the next few months, when things are really going bad, we really need to reach out to each other. I know sometimes you're in your home, you don't want to talk to anybody. It's so terrible out there, but push through that. Let people know you care. Just find out how they're doing. Throughout the week, I've had a number of people call me or email me or text me, how are you doing? Are you okay? How lovely. Of course I'm okay. Of course I am. But thanks for calling and thanks for asking. Do that with each other. Treat other people during this time like you would want to be treated if you were in their position. If you had lost everything, how would you want people to treat you? You wouldn't want their pity. That's not good. What you would want is support. Maybe not financial or any other, maybe just emotional support. Letting people you know you care. It's important during the next few months that we do this. It's important that we reach out to the people who are lonely, who live alone, who don't have anybody. To reach out to families who are having trouble because they're in their house and they're about to kill each other. Can we just bring peace and joy and love with us during this time? This is why we incarnated here. We incarnated here to be of service to that part of us that needs enlightened. And it begins with each individual, but that spreads out into the world. Okay, hang on a minute. I'm going to go away for a second. One of the more powerful meditations I had didn't feel so very powerful when I was there. It was in San Francisco 20, 30 years ago, a long time ago. And I was teaching and I was so full of myself that I felt I was more advanced than anybody. Of course, that's what teachers feel at certain stages in their development. And there was some Buddhist monks coming into the Unitarian Church in San Francisco to hold a ceremony. And the ceremony was the tear in the eye of the Buddha. I've mentioned this many times, but there's some of you here that haven't heard the story. So I'll see if I can go into it as much as I can. It was a guided meditation, and I'm not one for guided meditations, although I do them sometimes, but I'm not really a big one for guided meditations. But this was a guided meditation. And in that meditation, they had us think of ourselves and our life and everything in it. And then they said the Buddha consciousness, the Buddha nature is in all things. So it's in everyone in the room. So just kind of feel how everyone in the room was in their life. And then they said, take that Buddha consciousness out into all of San Francisco, all of the Bay Area. Just see all of that as Buddha would see it through the eyes of Buddha. Then the state, all of the West Coast, then all of the United States. And as you raise out, you actually end up in a place where you're in outer space, looking at this little blue ball suspended in this vault of stars. And you look at that earth and you see all the billions of people hurting each other, being selfish, not caring about each other, causing great harm to each other, killing each other, torturing. And you see the general people are okay generally, they're pretty good, but they're striving so much and they worry so much about their children and their jobs and their country and everything. They're just in total panic. And the Buddha sees this world and all the billions of people striving and working through their ignorance, creating great suffering. And the Buddha has a single tear of compassion for the human race. We need to develop the tear of compassion for the human race. For the people who are lost in ignorance and aggression and anger and fear and terror. And we need to understand the motives and why people get lost. We're all eternal. None of us will ever die. But boy, do we make things tough on each other, don't we? We really hurt each other here. We say things without seeing the consequences of our words. Your words are very important. When I was a little boy, they had a saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. That's incorrect. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can wound the soul. Watch your words. Are you coming from anger? Are you coming from frustration? Are you demanding that everybody be like you? Do you even try to understand where other people are coming from? Do you have any empathy whatsoever? These are things we need to develop. This is the Buddha nature. And we go into our Dharma, which is our practice. If you're a Buddhist, you practice the Eightfold Path. If you're a Christian, you follow the teachings of Christ that he gave on the Sermon on the Mount. And it goes all through all the religions. They all say they're all touching. They have different names for the Buddha, but all of the names are not correct because they're made by people who don't see the entire. How could we see all of the Tao? What is the Tao? If you name it, that's not it. But you can be it. You can have it work through your life. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be fearful. We're just here for a short time. Seems like everything is just flying by. In a couple of months or so, I'll be 74. Wow. Wow. It's important for me to spend the rest of this life seeking the light in everything and in everyone. We probably won't have a meditation next Sunday that's live because I will be in New Mexico. The Meditate Santa Fe people are sponsoring me to come there for a weekend. It'll all be COVID safe, practice safe distancing. And I've already seen nobody's going to get sick, but we're going to practice it anyway. So if you're in Santa Fe, look me up. I'll be there for a week. But Meditate Santa Fe, what a wonderful bunch of people. So things change. I'm here for a while. I'm not here for a while. One day I'll be gone. Or will I? I'll never be gone, and neither will you. So these few years that pass by so quickly here on this earth, it's really important for us right now, during this time of great upheaval, of great unrest, of the four horsemen of the apocalypse taking its toll, of the battle of Armageddon. And can you be the Christ? Can you be the Christ coming through with the sword of discrimination and erasing ignorance? You're not killing people, you're killing ignorance. The souls are there. We're here forever. Second coming of Christ is already happening. It's happening inside of you right now. Buddha is here. Buddha nature is in all things. You can't touch the Tao, but you can be the Tao. So important for us to stay tuned in to the Buddha. So important for us to really seek out the Dharma. So important for us to gather together and help each other. So during these times, it's very important to meditate and to study and to pray. If you're in your home and you're lonely and you're afraid, just start praying for everyone. Start praying for the people, especially the people who are the bad actors, the ones that are causing all of the fear and anger and hatred and mistrust. Can you pray for them? Pray for their enlightenment. Pray for them to awaken. Pray for, as my mom would say, pray for God to touch their heart. Do something that will, in your mind, that will take these really bad players and move them into the light from which they came and from which they will eventually dissolve into. Everyone came from God. Everybody goes back to God. We're here for an adventure. We're here to help each other. We're here to be kind, to be gentle, to quit forcing it, but let it be. This moment is perfect. It's always perfect. Let's meditate for a little bit. Namaste.